This is going to be impossible. Okay, I'm going to need you to try to do something that nobody seems to be capable of doing, right? And that might include me. We're going to try and have a rational conversation about Gareth Southgate. So put your fucking seatbelt on and let's break some shit down, okay? I pulled up something that might be very, very helpful for you. This is the entire history of England at the European Championships. You might notice something. England, before Gareth Southgate took charge, had not only never made the final, it had only made one semifinal in the history of the European Championships, which has been contested since 1960, a competition that Denmark and Greece have won. An easier competition than the World Cup, which of course England did win after the Euros had been created. So this was still something that was going on that England could have gone and won it. Sorry, they've made the semifinals 2 times, and it was that same team that won the World Cup that finished 3rd, which was the highest ever finish in English history before Gareth Southgate took charge. He's led them to back-to-back finals. Right, and he has also led this team to a World Cup semifinal and a World Cup quarterfinal, which if I feel like scrolling, and I do. If you take either of those 2 performances, the semifinal or the quarterfinal, they still match the highest mark that England had achieved since 1994. It didn't qualify in 94, round of 16 in 1998, back-to-back quarterfinals in 02 and 06, round of 16 in South Africa, and group stage exit in Brazil. It is amazing what Gareth Southgate has done just when you strictly look at the numbers, right? And the first thing that people will jump at to try and trash Gareth Southgate, and let's be honest, you realize what channel we're on right now? Zealandism this is where we trash people. This is where we have the unfiltered opinions about people. If they're trash, we call them trash, right? But objectively, those results in the 4 major tournaments that this man has coached have been far beyond what England has come to expect in a very long time previously, right? And it is essentially, particularly on the Euros side, blown everything that England's ever done out of the water. So the first thing that people jump to is that, well, he's got this incredibly talented team, so that's like the bare minimum of what he could have achieved, and if he was doing a better job, then he would achieve more. I would counter with the fact that if you're looking at the early 2000s, this is an England team that's rocking up with David Beckham, Rio Ferdinand's on the back line, right? You've got Scholes in the midfield. You've got Wayne Rooney sneaking into the team up top, right? It's like he took a team, particularly the 2018 team that went to the World Cup semifinal, a team that was rocking out with Marcus Rashford, that was rocking out with Dele Alli, that was rocking out with Jesse Lingard, prime Harry Maguire on the back line. Like, this is probably, if you're looking at just the talent of the team and where those guys ended up and the level that they were able to reach, like one of the worst England teams that showed up just baseline talent-wise since 2000 to any major tournament, and Gareth was able to produce that kind of result. So the first reason that people typically reach for to try and go after Gareth Southgate is a reason that I don't think counts for much, right? It's a reason that I don't think holds any water. But there is another argument to be made here, because I am also not going to stand here and tell you that the England team right now is significantly less talented than the England team of 10 to 15 years ago. It is at least at the same level of talent, right? It's right in the same neighborhood, which is the neighborhood that should be able to compete for championships and major tournaments, if we're just going to get that out there. And I don't know if Gareth Southgate is particularly well equipped to do that, because Gareth Southgate is somebody that seems to be best built to coach a team like the 2018 England team. I do not believe, right, that he is well equipped to coach a team like what the England team is right now, which is a team that should be able to go out and impose itself more effectively. There's a tweet I shared in the other video, but I'll paraphrase it here. Essentially, Croatia, who got knocked out in the group stage, or which got knocked out in the group stage, only playing 3 matches as a result, had more XG than England, which played in 7 matches, right? So, there is just not a lot of offensive creativity coming from England. Now, I understand that a lot of different teams, whether it be Didier Deschamps' France in this particular tournament or Portugal in 2016 or whatever, approach international knockout football with the idea, let's control the game and not lose it, and then find and take our one or two opportunities to go and win the game. Play a match of fine margins and then win with our quality in those fine margins. That is the perfectly acceptable argument to be made, is the way that you're supposed to approach these types of tournaments. But very often the teams that win these tournaments don't do that. Just looking at Spain as an example, if you go player for player through the entire Spanish team and through the entire English team, and you look what they are able to accomplish at club level, it should not have been as one-sided as it was to Spain. Gareth Southgate took a particular approach in Spain. In De La Fuente, they took a different approach. Right, and they went out and they looked to assert themselves more, and they made more aggressive runs. And even the commentators, even the American commentators, noticed that coming out of the half, Spain had done a really good job of figuring out how to draw England out of position and break them down. Draw the press to one side, move Rodri over here, and then all of a sudden a center back could walk forward and basically cut through all of their lines. Spain was more aggressive. Spain was more confident. And this is a confidence game. Let's be entirely honest. One of the best things I've ever heard from a manager was Carlo Ancelotti. I can't remember who he was talking to, but some young center back that had just been brought into Real Madrid. And that center back was playing a little scared. And he went to him and he basically said, "You deserve to be here. That's why we brought you here. So play with confidence. Play with confidence. Play with no fear. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. But go out there and make the confident play. Make the confident pass. Go out there and look to impose yourself." England did not go out there and look to impose themselves. England played like they were Slovakia playing England, which is not what England is supposed to be doing with the amount of talent that it has. Right? And so you might feel like in this video, I have sat here and talked about why Gareth Southgate should be referred to as a good coach and should be respected for what he's been able to accomplish. And then I spent the second half of the video basically telling you that Gareth Southgate's time should be done. But that is kind of where we're at. I mean, this is a whole interesting debate that's going to happen, and I feel like a lot of it is going to come down to the conviction of the FA. I don't think any amount of fan pressure is going to shift things. I don't think there's going to be a ridiculous amount of fan pressure against Gareth Southgate. I know a lot of people are shitting on his tactics. I mean, but the amount of fan pressure relatively, like I understand that there's a lot more England fans than there are U.S. men's national team fans, but I mean, the U.S. men's national team, it was every single thing ever saying to fire Greg Berhalter. And to be fair, we got grouped by Panama, right? And England didn't do that. Is Gareth Southgate getting the best out of this team? No. Is he a bad coach? No. Which leaves us with the fact that Gareth Southgate is probably going to be the one that decides whether he is going to stay the England coach or not. I can't imagine, unless you can, the England FA actually stepping out and firing him after making a second straight Euros final. Now, Gareth Southgate's been in this job for a while, and this job is grating, and it is exhausting, right? A lot of people that coach national teams have talked about that, particularly coming out of these international tournaments. Just the amount of incessant pressure is crazy. Being the coach of any team these days seems to just wear everybody except for Pep Guardiola out, but we all know that dude's popping caffeine pills like gummy bears. So he's staying all hopped up on Mountain Dew so that he can power through for Manchester City. If Gareth wants to stay the coach, I think he will. I don't think anybody's going to pull the trigger to fire a guy that has achieved the results that we were just looking at. But I think a lot of the criticism outside of just the basic, "Oh, you know, we've got the best team ever. Why aren't you?" I don't think England has the best team ever. I think England has one of the most talented teams in the world and certainly can win one of these tournaments. But the other criticism about how he's setting this team up to play and how he is dedicated to this like strict regiment of pure survivalism, I think that criticism's fair, right? I think Gareth Southgate is the type of guy that should take over Crystal Palace, because that's kind of the way he coaches, right? It is a team that's finishing 13th in the Premier League, and England's looking for more than that. Now, I don't know who the hell England would be able to get in to take the job. I'm not somebody that's sitting here on a search committee. I'm not even going to Jose Mourinho. No, I'm not even going to begin to speculate who England would appoint for this position. But as a man who started this channel purely to spout bullshit, I find myself firmly planted on a fence when it comes to Gareth Southgate. And I think the only person that's going to actually make the decision about what happens to Gareth Southgate is Gareth Southgate. And I think there is a legitimate chance that he is going to resign or like mutually agree to part ways, have a difficult conversation with the FA where they want him to change some things. He says, nah, fuck that. And he just leaves. Right. I think that is a legitimate possibility, but it's a tough situation. If England had just lost to Slovakia in the round of 16, honestly, it would be easier. And I think in the long run, England would be better for it because they might be able to get a coach in that's able to rah the boys up and go play that, Gagan pressing, get after them type style that I feel like this team certainly would be capable of playing. But you know what? World Cup is in 2 years. World Cup qualifying might get Gareth Southgate fired if they start slow. We'll see. I'll put it clean 50-50 that Gareth Southgate's on the sideline for England at the World Cup in the United States, Mexico, and Canada in 2026. And I don't know if that's a good thing for England, right? I don't know.